Goals galore in the Premier League this week, including an 8-goal thriller to wrap up Super Sunday at the Bridge. We've got plenty to discuss on this week's Premier League Roundup show. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We're a man down this week. Sean is unfortunately unable to join us. Not me, but Josh has come to the conclusion it's because Spurs have lost 2 games in a week. Josh, how are you?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. So yeah, Sean, if you're watching, get well soon, my friend, and we hope to have you back next week to discuss Spurs losing 3 games on the trot because they play you lot next week, don't they, Josh? After the international break.
Yeah, I know it's
Up the Villa.
Yeah, it's gonna be tight, that one.
Hello to everybody watching. I hope all is well. That's where we will start then at Molineux. Spurs led the game for the majority of it, all the way from the start pretty much to the end. But somehow they managed to lose it. Wolves 2, Spurs 1, 2 goals in injury time, and Wolves take all 3 points, Josh.
Yeah, it's just really mental game. I think Spurs are going back to the old Spursy selves, aren't they? Obviously, it was always going to be difficult for them with that many players out. Obviously lost both of the centre backs last week, who were doggy out as well. Maddison now to New Year. So it was always going to be tough for them. They still come out the box quite quick. First 10 minutes got the goal. But Wolves absolutely battered them all game really. They had the majority of the ball. Wolves could have had about 10 to be honest. That Cunha missed about 3 clear-cut chances alone. And then yeah, just mental what happened in the last few minutes. Pablo Sarabia off the bench with probably the goal of the weekend, very good on the chest and then volleys it in. So I think Spurs are going to start struggling now, obviously, because they've had all the injuries and the playoffs next with them, still not too confident for. But I think people who are saying Spurs are going to be title challengers. I just can't see that. I couldn't see it anyway, even if they didn't have the injuries. I think they're in about 4th or 5th now. As for Wolves, I think they're actually only a few points off Europe now, so just shows what a few wins can do. I think that Gary O'Neill's definitely got something about him because obviously for what he did at Bournemouth, keeping that team up, and then most people have Wolves to go down this season as well. And I think at the top half now, just outside the top half, not around that area. So yeah, it's a very good win for Wolves. It was 2 in stoppage time, which is just mental. And yeah, the classic Spurs, he's back, and Eric Dyer for the goal as well. Looked like he was playing Lemina on the side for the last goal, which is just, again, it's always risky holding a high line, especially I think you can do it when you've got quick defenders like Romero and Van der Ven, but when Eric Dyer and Ben Davis have to come in, who are not the quickest defenders whatsoever, I think that's why they're going to start struggling next few weeks until they get them defenders back.
Yeah. I think this game probably set the tone for the weekend, really. There's a monumental 37 goals scored this weekend in the Premier League. That was heavily assisted by what happened in the final game, of course, at Stamford Bridge, which we'll come on to later. But yeah, a mental game to start off the weekend. Let's see who we've got in the chat. Sean did fail the fitness test for tonight's show, so unfortunately he couldn't be with us. I'm sure he'd have plenty to say about this one, that's for sure. Sharky, thanks for joining us. Josh's granddad is here. Hope you're well. Everton picked up another 3 points. I'll tell you what, we're going to Everton obviously a little bit later on, but I saw a pundit say that on the BBC or something, even if they get the 12-point deduction, they'll still stay up because of the results they're picking up and how poor the 3 that currently are there are getting, especially with Bournemouth picking up 3 points this weekend as well. That gap is widening between the 3 down there. But we'll discuss all of that a little bit later on. Wolves were deserved winners. Yeah, they were. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched most of it. And by the sounds of what everyone was saying, it sounds like they sort of had the best of it and probably deserved to win the game. Peter, thanks for joining us. I hope you're well. Lawrence as well. It's the Spurs sick. He's failed his fitness test. He couldn't be with us, unfortunately. See, who would have thought we're on a West Ham channel and look at all of the stress people have got because the Spurs fan hasn't turned up, honestly. See, it's just normality, isn't it? It's normality. Yeah, all right, let's calm down. We're only 3 points behind you now. Yeah, all right, let's calm down. Calm down. Sean didn't want to come on after a Spurs game. I can categorically deny that, but yeah, hopefully we'll have him back in a couple of weeks' time. Right then, next up, we'll go to the Emirates. I'll do this one, so Josh can talk about his beloved Everton in a minute. Arsenal 3, Burnley 1. Now it looks like a routine win for Arsenal, but I think they struggled to get going in this game. A red card for Fabio Vieira, which I could see why it was given, and I could also see why maybe there was a few complaints about it, but probably the right decision was made. And look, I think Burnley made it quite difficult for them. They had an element of fortune with the goal. I thought Burnley, I think it was a deflection or something that got it into the back of the net for them. But I think they leveled things up at 1-1 or something like that, and they had Arsenal worried, but then I think the class shone through, and Arsenal managed to get the job done. And Arsenal were, staying around the top of the table. There seems to be a little bit of a group there, which I can't believe I'm saying Aston Villa are a part of. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. But as we go into the final international break for a long time, you've got that top five there now with Man City on 28, Liverpool 27, Arsenal 27, Spurs 26, and Villa on 25. So there's only 3 points between first and fifth. And Arsenal have maintained some form, just losing the one game so far this season and losing to us in the Carabao Cup. And look, they keep going. They've got a good side. Do I think they will challenge City to win the league? No, I don't think they will. And as for Burnley, where they really are struggling, we've had our concerns in recent weeks, and this is probably a game they wouldn't be expected to win. But yet again, it goes down as another L, another loss next to their name. They now occupy bottom of the Premier League with just 4 points from 12 games, with just the one victory in those 12 games. And Josh, guess who they've got in their next game? West Ham.
Oh.
Yeah, they haven't won a home game in the Premier League yet, and we play them at their place next. So we all know what's going to happen there. But we've got the international break to get ready for that game. But Burnley are just so poor, and they're the side that I look at the bottom three. Out of them bottom three, Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley. I really didn't think I'd expect to say this at the start of the season, but they're the side that I fear for the most in there, because Luton are going to pick up the odd result. Sheffield United have done this weekend. But there just seems to be, from what I've seen, no leaders and no sort of drive in that Burnley side, and it does worry me. We'll talk to Dan, the Burnley fan, in a week or two about Burnley when we play them. But yeah, there's just huge question marks that continue to arise about Burnley. And for Arsenal, it's a routine win for them in the end, and they look like they are going to be up and around those Champions League spaces again. Sean can't come on tonight due to the flood in his home caused by all the crying. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Right. Let's move to Selhurst Park and Everton. They keep picking up points. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 3. What a win for the Blue Boys, Josh.
Yeah, well, I saw some stats the other day, and apparently now they've won more games in London this season than at Goodison. So yeah, there's a lot really. Apparently there's a decision on the point deduction this week as well. So I'm not sure how many that'll be. They're saying 12, aren't they? But yeah. I think even if they do get that point deduction, I'd still probably back them to stay up. I'm not sure what the gap is between them and the relegation at the minute. I think it's about 6-7 at least.
So they currently occupy 14th. 14th on 14 points. Luton are on 6, so there's an 8-point gap. I'm already 12 games in.
So even if they had the deduction, they'll only be 4 points behind. So yeah. I'd still probably back them, to be honest. It finally looks like Sean Dyche has gotten going somewhere, and they could be heading towards that mid-table area of the Premier League, like they were previously before these horrible last 2 years that they've had. Obviously, Eze coming back for Palace was a big boost for them. And I think Elise was back on the bench as well. It sounded like Eze absolutely destroyed Everton's defence. But Everton were more clinical. They took the chances. Mikalenko, the full-back, with 2 and 2. And then Idrissa Gueye off the bench with very well taken goal late on as well. So unlikely scorers. And to get back in front 3 times, it's very unlike a Dyche team. But you know what you're going to get there, and the football won't be pretty whatsoever. But I think if it gets some results and you just get back to that stable Premier League team again, I think that's all Dyche's job is to do, really. And they just don't want relegation battles every year, and just if you can just steady the ship, then I think Everton fans will be happy no matter what type of football they play. Against Brighton last week, they got a 1-1 draw, and they probably should have won if they kept the ball a bit better. Second half, game management was a bit better. If Ashley Young never stayed on until the 89th minute, we had 38, maybe that would have helped a bit as well. But, I think sometimes that direct sort of not great to watch football does work a bit like West Ham. And I don't think Everton fans will care too much if they get results. a few.
The thing is with Everton, I've just looked. Last year they accumulated 8 wins in total in the Premier League throughout the entirety of last season. They've already got 4, and we're in November, so already halfway to their wins tally that they accumulated last season, this season, and we're already in November. I think that's a telling stat to the turnarounds that Everton have gone on so far this season, Josh.
Yeah, and I think last year they won 2 away from home all season. I think this year they've already won more than that. I think they've won 3, maybe 2, but they've at least equalled it. So yeah, that's also very good for them. He plays a 4-3-3, which is quite different to what he did against Burnley, but I just don't think he trusts the team enough still to go with the 2 up front. But it's working for them, so I'm sure they'll be okay with that. And if they do get to the point deduction, I still think just because of bad the quality of the league is this year, I still think they'll have a chance of staying up. I do worry for Burnley as well, just going back to that, because it's like I can see Sheffield United, Luton, they'll probably get a couple of 1-0s at home. You can sort of see a glimmer of hope for them. Whereas Burnley, it's just like they're still trying to just look like they're not going to stop trying to play that good football. And even if they do try to go a bit more route one, they've got no focal point up front really. After they let Ashley Barnes go, so if they did want to go to that route one type of style,
they've got no identity there, have they?
They've just got no Premier League experience whatsoever. As you said, there's no leaders. There's no like big striker. If they did want to go to route one, there's no like Ashley Barnes or something like that. Just that. Or Chris Wood. Yeah, something like that you need. Like they've just got like young strikers who probably be good in a few years, but not the best now. And everyone was sort of saying they're going to come up, play this good football, and be fine with no Premier League experience. People saying look about 10th and all this. I think I had them about 15th or 16th. I didn't expect me this bad, but yeah, it's not looking good for Burnley. But as for Everton, that's another very good win for them, and I think they'll be more than okay this season, points deduction or not. And for Palace, they just, what are you going to get with Palace? It's going to be between 14th and 11th every year, isn't it? But I'm sure that's a disappointing loss at home.
Yeah, for sure. The thing with Everton is, I'll hold my hands up, and I thought they would be the team to occupy the 3rd relegation spot this year. I thought their time was up. They had stayed up on the last 2 last days of the season. They've stayed up by the skin of their teeth, and I thought this year might be it for them. And to be fair, I thought Burnley would do a lot better than they have done. I've been proven very wrong there, as have many people. And I think Everton have came out with a real purpose, and a couple of signings they've made have made an impact. And Sean Dyche seems to have rallied the troops a little bit and has really got a tune out of these players. And listen, fair play to them. As long as we don't lose up there for our final visit to Goodison Park whenever we play them, I won't mind. But yeah, as a Crystal Palace, I thought you hit the nail on the head. They'll finish between 11th and 14th. Too good to go down. Not good enough to get anywhere near Europe with Roy Hodgson there. That is what Crystal Palace will do. That is for sure. Right, let's take some of your comments. Josh Grandad says, like when we had Moyes as manager and we were a mid-table team, Josh. And I think this is where Everton want to get to. And I think you mentioned this, Josh, get to a stabilised mid-table Premier League club, and then you're at a crossroads then whether you push on or whether you sort of stand still, as a side like Crystal Palace have. But yeah, it is what it is. Dyche is a scary manager to play for. Imagine him in a dressing room. I wouldn't like to be there. They are playing with some confidence, that's for sure. In this league, you can go on a run of losing 3 or 4 or winning 3 or 4. You certainly can. We've learned that the hard way, haven't we? Never thought Everton would go down under Dyche. But yeah, I sort of agree with that sentiment. But this year, I just sort of felt is the time up. But they proved me wrong. They have proved me wrong. Next up, let's go to Old Trafford. I'll do this one. Manchester United 1, Luton 0. I very rarely predict a result right, and I did this. I said it'll be 1-0 to Manchester United. I said they won't be very good, but I think they'll just about have enough for Luton. And look, I think I mentioned it the other day. For a side like Luton, that was the sort of dream away day, isn't it? Really, going to Old Trafford playing Manchester United. I'm sure they had a whale of a time in it, and they made a game of it, that's for sure, because it took Manchester United quite a long time to get themselves on the score sheet. I think, was it just before half time or just after? I'm not sure. So they certainly made a game of it, Luton, and they've sort of impressed in the last couple of weeks. I mean, more performances and anything else, they've picked up a point out of Liverpool and Manchester United, which I think they would have all taken before it, in their last 2 games. I think the performances are a little bit more encouraging for Rob Edwards' side, I think, and they'll look to push on. I'm sure they'll have some slightly easier fixtures coming up after the international break, and they may look to push on, get a few more points on the board, and you never know what might happen. I still think they'll go down, don't get me wrong, but at least they're not, they're not getting battered every week. And yeah, we say how poor Luton have been and all the rest of it, but I don't think they've been battered at all yet. They've lost by 1 goal here or there, I think Josh, your boys battered them, but that was the only battering they've had all year, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one with Luton. I do still think they'll go down.
Yeah.
But the hard to beat. They play quite a solid system. I think it's 5 at the back, and fair play to them. They've tried to have a go. They've brought in some fairly decent players, Barkley, Townsend. I can see what they're trying to do. I still think they'll go, but to be honest, I'd probably give them more hope, the most hope out of all the newly promoted teams now. Yeah, it is sort of like it's almost certain that 3 of them 4 teams, Bournemouth and the 3 newly promoted teams, are all going. And I think everyone else will be miles clear of them 4. But no, as for United, it's just I'm still not really sure. To be honest, people now change the tune, saying, "Oh, the most informed team in the league." Well, who if they play here? Like realistically, they scraped past Sheffield United 2-1. They were lucky to win that. Sheffield United probably could have won that on another day. They should have lost to Fulham last week. Fulham have by far the better chances, and they rely on a Victor Lindelof 1-0. Victor Lindelof scrappy goal to get 1 home to Luton. And when they did play someone decent, Man City, they got absolutely battered. And obviously they're not doing well in the Champions League either. So
No.
I don't know. I still think it's not looking great for United, but I just don't know how they're that high in the league. It's just there's a lot about everyone else really. And I think if they start playing a few better teams, then I think the pressure will be on them again. To be honest.
If we can separate any of the sides down the bottom, I think it's probably with Premier League experience that Luton have brought in, which Burnley don't have, and which Sheffield United may struggle with as well, because they've brought in, as you said, Josh, the likes of Barkley, and there's Townsend there as well, somebody else like that. They've brought in just that bit of Premier League edge and a bit of Premier League knowledge, just to sort of support them, along with the players that have got them into the position they're in. And I still think they'll go down. The 3 that come up will go back down again, but they're going to go down with a fight, that's for sure. Limstar London, I hope you says, sure, it would be a Desma yesterday, but Souček stepped up. He most certainly did, and boy, did we need it. Sharks says, Manchester United struggled against Luton. I was expecting them to smash them. I always thought it was going to be another scrappy Old Trafford, typical, maybe a 1-0 or a 2-0 game, and that's what it was for once I was proven right. The 3 promoted teams will go straight back down, just not equipped at this level. Peter says Solanke is the one who just keeps Bournemouth up with his goals. We'll talk about that in just a second. Everton's next test at home is Manchester United after the international break. That will be an interesting game. See whether Everton can push the Red Devils. But let's talk a little bit about Bournemouth then. Now, a drubbing a couple of weeks ago up at Man City. A bit of positivity, beating Burnley slightly narrowly, losing out to Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. And now they've beaten Eddie Howe's Newcastle, returning back to Dean Court. It wasn't a happy evening for Eddie Howe. Bournemouth 2, Newcastle 0, and finally some positivity for Andoni Iraola, Josh.
Yeah, well, it's much more encouraging performance from them. I did watch this game and they played very well. Dominic Solanke actually looked a handful for a change. He's usually, I think, most he's ever scored in the Premier League season was 6, but he's already equalled that. So he looks like he's getting a bit better this season. And yeah, they were a bit more like sort of intense sort of thing. They weren't trying to play as good football. They were going a bit longer. They identified Newcastle's weakness. And I think that's what you got to do sometimes when you're in relegation dogfight. You can't really play that type of football. You just got to realise we're not good enough. You just go a bit longer, and it most certainly worked for them. And I think they should be okay this season now, just because of how poor the 3 newly promoted teams are. As for Newcastle, it was a really poor performance, probably the worst one of the season. But it's really hard for them because the amount of injuries they've had. I think obviously Tonali is suspended. for a while. Guimaraes is out as well. I think it gives some 17-year-olds debut in the midfield, which shows how many injuries they've got. So yeah, I think we've had it bad. We've had about 4 or 5 injuries. I think they've lost most of the team. They have to play Anthony Gordon up front because both of the centre forwards are injured, Wilson and Isak. So I don't think it needs to panic for Newcastle. You know, I think they still should be around that top 6, 7 area. Although I think the squad depth really is being tested now. If you look at that bench on Saturday, I think I had like Matt Ritchie, Paul Dummett. You know, it's not ideal for them. And I do think, as you know, if they do go further in Europe, could even to get knocked out of the Champions League, he could go into Europa League. He could start to struggle a bit. But again, because of that, I feel like the league standards dropping a bit. I still think they'll be around that 6th or 7th area. But now Bournemouth, they could have had about 8 or 9 goals. To be honest, they absolutely battered them. The different play style just suited them. Semenyo as well on the wing looked a real threat. And Newcastle just couldn't really handle them. I'm not really sure why Tino Livramento never started, because I watched him in the Champions League and against United in the Cup, and he looks a really good player, really quick for a fullback. I'm not quite sure why he didn't start. I can only imagine he had a knock, to think of. But no, good win for Bournemouth. I think they're out the bottom 3 now, and yeah, they should be more than fine because of how poor these newly promoted sides have been so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a bit of a confidence boost that probably Bournemouth needed. And Newcastle, I think, is the European hangover, which has hit them as it has hit Brighton, who we will discuss in just a second. Firstly, let's take some of your comments. Dad and Sharky are having an emojis battle in the chat. If you'd like to use these exclusive West Ham unofficial emojis, you can become a member of the channel from just £1.99 a month, going all the way up to, I think it's £7 or £8.99 a month to support West Ham unofficial. Click the join button that is just underneath the channel and next to the subscribe button, which hopefully should be grey and says subscribed, and you can join and you can get all of these lovely emojis to use, and you can use them however you see fit. It's amazing that Bournemouth and Luton are in the Premier League with small grounds. I quite like it, to be honest with you. It's annoying with the way allocations, don't get me wrong, but I like the quirkiness of some different grounds. You get bored going to the same sort of Southamptons and Leicesters with the same sort of design, same grounds. I like Villa Park, proper old school. I like Goodison Park as well, going and rolling back the years with some nice wooden flooring and different quirky seats. Yeah, all of these modern stadiums get a bit boring, so I quite like the likes of Kenilworth Road and all the rest of it. It just offers some variety, I think, as well. Josh's Granite says Newcastle looks like they didn't want to be there from the start, and then of course Trippier had a bit of an altercation with a fan at the end who was not too happy about it. It seems like Newcastle fans have just got a little bit too high for their own liking, I reckon, expecting a little bit too much from a squad that currently is stretched to the absolute limit. But there's no denying how poor they were. Tony, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Everybody else having a little chat as well. And next we'll go down to the South Coast. Brighton 1, Sheffield United 1. I'll start off with this one. I think it's the European hangover. It's hit them. To be honest, I feared for Brighton. I thought this game could be a little bit of a banana skin for them. And then I saw they scored inside 6 or 7 minutes. I thought this is going to be pretty routine for Brighton. But I think there was an own goal or something, or a goal from Sheffield United came a little bit later. And they managed to hold on to a point. And I think if you'd have offered that to any Sheffield United fan pre-match, they would have snatched your hand off for it away at Brighton. And Brighton are going to struggle. They had a fantastic result in Europe midweek, beating Ajax. But coming back and using pretty much the same players again. We did it in the first year of Europe, using the same players again on a Sunday. It does tell. You can see, and I think that's probably what happened to this Brighton side. And look, I think they'll still be okay. They'll still be up there. But Roberto De Zerbi hasn't won a Premier League match since something like September or something. So they've gone on a bit of a bad run. Brighton's last win in the Premier League was against Bournemouth on the 24th of September. They've lost 3 and drew 3 since then. It's the longest run Roberto De Zerbi has been on without a win in the Premier League. So I think that has got to play into the Europe factor as well. It's a pretty small squad they've got there down at Brighton. And Sheffield United, I mean, getting a point on the board, I think they'd have taken that absolutely. And I still think they'll go down, as I think we're going to discuss every week. One of these sides pick up an odd point here and there. There's just not enough quality there, but they'll be chuffed with that, I think. And Brighton will be left disappointed, still probably on a high after beating Ajax in a brilliant game midweek, but now a little bit disappointed with that result, coming back down to earth in the Premier League. Brighton went down to 10 men. Was there a red card in that game? I don't know. I didn't really pay attention. Josh, anything to add about
that? Not really. Sheffield United 4 points from the last two. I'm sure they'll be made up with that. As you said, I still think they're definitely going down. The squad's just far too weak for the league. But yeah, I watched the highlights. They had a couple of chances to win it once. They had the man advantage as well. I can imagine the scenes in that way, and if they did win it, but no, I think it'll be out them or Burnley. They'll come rock bottom, to be honest. But 2 games out of defeat, I'm sure they'll be very happy with that.
For sure. Peter says, I think Newcastle will drop down into the Europa League and Tiger that. I'd rather not, to be honest with you, because they've become one of the favourites then. I hope they finish 4th in the group and get out of it, to be honest with you. That would be a perfect scenario for me. I was so disappointed that Brighton didn't win this game. I sort of saw it coming, to be honest with you. The Brighton manager went on a bit of a rant at the end, saying that I think he could be in trouble. He sort of said that 80% of the referees in England are crap, and then the sort of pundit, commentator, whatever, reporter bloke said, so you like 20% of them? And he sort of went, well, yeah, I suppose. So he'll get in trouble for that, no doubt. Josiah, thanks for joining us. I hope you are well. The bottom 3 have shipped 83 goals in 12 games between them. I know 2 of the sides are on like minus 20 odd goal difference. Really, they've conceded 83 goals between them in 12 games. Oh my god, that is a massive stat. Jeez, that is crazy. Let's move to Villa Park next. Then Aston Villa 3, Fulham 1. Back to winning ways and back to normality at home for Unai Emery. Josh.
Yeah, pretty the team on the end. But played in Europe on Thursday, so there was some slight doubt that we could be a bit tired, especially after what happened against Forest. But now that's 13 home wins in a row now, but we have Man City at home next, and that could have come to an end. But it was very routine performance, to be honest. One you'd expect us to win. When Funker's an own goal in the first half, with a 1-0 or 2-0 half time, I can't even remember. But we played quite well. We were in no real danger. They kept giving the ball away. And I think it was 2-0 at half time. And we were in cruise control. They come out the second half quite quick. And first 10 or 15 minutes, it got a bit shaky. They looked on top. They definitely upped the tempo a bit. And then we went and got the third goal. John McGinn today yesterday was absolutely unbelievable. He's just an animal when he plays like that. He's just, for how small he is, he just uses his body so well, so strong. And then he scored the first on the very good finish into the far corner. I think that's 5 he's got this season, and he only got 1 last season, so he's improved massively this season. And then second half, we got the third one for a very good team goal again at the heart of it. Ollie Watkins managed to put it away. And they got the first goal. They got the one back, which was coming because they started the second half very well. Raul Jimenez, who hadn't scored in 33 games, who knew he was going to score against us. And after that, I don't think the second half was as good. They had most of the ball, to be honest. We sort of just let them come at us, and the frustrating thing is we just can't seem to keep a clean sheet. We've kept 2 in the league all season, Everton and Chelsea, and it's just feels like an absolute age since we've kept one. We always just concede silly goals in the second half at home. I still think the high line is getting breached quite a bit. And I think Tyrone Mings is still quite a bit of a miss because he's just that bit of pace that can, stop the high line from getting breached more often. And Pau Torres just quite simply isn't as quick. However, he is much better on the ball, and his passing range is probably better than most of our midfield. I've said this a few times. And Alex Moreno back on the bench as well, which is good to see. So yeah, it's a pretty routine win in the end. That's for Fulham again. They'll be more than fine this year. Because anyone, unless you nearly promote, they'll be fine. But I think they could be at sort of that 15th or 16th area. I think since they've lost Mitrovic, they've sort of lost that focal point. And Jimenez is just never been the same player since he had that bad injury, and I think he's the only striker, if I'm correct. João Palhinha as well, he won't be there much longer. He'll be off in January, probably to Bayern Munich, because that's when he's going to go in the summer. So, yeah, good win for Villa, but we've got real tough games coming up now. I think we've got Spurs away, then Bournemouth away, then City and Arsenal at home. So our next 4 games are going to be very tough, but I think if we can get 7 points out of them, we've done really well, and I still think that'll keep us around 5th to 6th, which is where we're at really, and what we should be aiming for this season. So yeah, another good win, but I'm not sure how much longer that home winning run's going to last.
Shock home win for Villa, 13 in a row. Yeah, it's a phenomenal record for them. I read this comment when you were talking, Josh, and I just had a look. Fulham could be in trouble this year. I thought, nah, they'll be okay. I actually looked at the Premier League table, and they are 16th. They are the next team up from the sort of bracket. So you've got Burnley on 4, Sheffield United on 5, Luton on 6, Bournemouth on 9, and then you've then got to go to Fulham next that are on 12. So they've dropped down to 16th with some not good results. So they'll want to turn that around quite quickly. Fulham minus Mitrovic is like cheese without crackers, fish without chips, or Josh without Jake on a Monday night, whichever analogy floats your boat. To be honest with you, they seem to be missing Mitrovic quite a lot. Josh Grant says, Peter, you're exactly right. I sent a text to Josh saying that yesterday that they really miss Mitrovic. There we go. The good news is, says Lawrence, that he has moved up to 43rd on the FPL table. See, we can talk about it this week, Josh, because Sean's not here because Sean's propping at the bottom of the table. I'm 10th and you're 15th. I've got to scroll down a hell of a long way to find Sean, you see. This week, I had a good week. 79 points I got this week. A Haaland captain helped. Oh, you played your wild card, Josh. You got up to 82. Did it work?
Yeah, definitely. The only ones that didn't do me anything was Matty Cash, and then for some reason Ferguson and Kaoru Matoma didn't play. So that wasn't ideal. Anthony Gordon had to come in for me because Ferguson didn't play and he didn't really do much. But no, Haaland definitely helped. I put a few West Ham players in because he got a nice run of games. Yeah. Bowen did me well. Saliba as well, he scored.
So I got Saliba as well, yeah.
Not a bad week, a lot better than last week. I think I stood for like 25 or something. So yeah, that was it. Everyone had a tough time this week. Dad's in 53rd. Where's Sean? We gotta find Sean. Where's Sean on there? I've got to find him now because that's gonna annoy me. Right, I'm gonna have to scroll on to the next page to find the old folks. Right, I'm 10th. Sean is 51st. Dad is 53rd. So it's neck and neck between Sean and Dad at the moment. There is just 3 points between them. Let's see how Sean got on this week. Sean got 71 this week. Sean's put Craig Dawson in there, which I like. So you've got Konza, Akanji, Livramento, who didn't play, so he won't be happy about that. Salah, Haaland, Son, Benrahma, Alvarez. So not a bad week for Sean, but he's still lurking at the bottom of our Fantasy Premier League. We will revisit that in a couple of weeks' time, but we'll now move to the London Stadium. West Ham 3, Nottingham Forest 2, a game of high emotion and a lot of goals, some entertainment in the second half, which has been hard to come by this season at times. And in the end, a good win. Listen, the performance in the first half was really, really poor. Having said that, of course, we got the first goal, Lucas Paqueta, with a really good finish, albeit after a really poor defensive error for Nottingham Forest to give the ball to Lucas Paqueta. It's a brilliant finish. And we did what we do most games. We score a goal, we sit back, we invite pressure, and Nottingham Forest grew into the game and justifiably scored just before half-time. Taiwo Awoniyi scored to level things up, and then they scored what they thought could have been a winner because Anthony Elanga decided to take his shirt off on the 63rd minute because he thought he'd scored the winning goal. It's a good goal. They probably deserved it. And just 128 seconds later, Jarrod Bowen was putting the ball into the back of the net to level things up. And just before the end, 2 minutes from time, it's Thomas Souček who gets his nut on it to give West Ham 3 points. It's an absolutely crucial 3 points because we didn't want to go into this international break with 4 successive Premier League defeats, which we did look like we were going to be doing at 2-1 down. So it's a huge win, probably the biggest win of the season in the context of the situation, because that was the difference. We could have been down to 15th going into this international break if we'd have lost. All of a sudden, we're up into 9th, and it's a bit of positivity around the place, which is nice.
As Josh mentioned in the Fantasy Premier League chat there, we've got a couple of favourable fixtures coming up. Burnley, Crystal Palace, then we play Spurs, which we can put that to the side. And then there's sort of Fulham and Wolves before in the run-up to Christmas. So we've got some games that we can win and keep ourselves in that top half of the table. As for Nottingham Forest, I thought they showed some good fight away from home. But our quality, I thought, just edged theirs. And we deserved just about to win the football match. And listen, there's still some negatives to take out of it because we were still quite poor in that first half, but the resilience and courage shown to turn things around in the second half, I thought was absolutely excellent. Josh, did you watch this game?
I was watching Villa game, so
of course you are. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
I've seen the highlights, but that's about it, really.
Yeah.
I heard it wasn't the greatest of games in terms of chances, but all I can add is Bowen scored, which is points in my fantasy, so that's good.
That's all he cares about. And the debate about Bowen and Saka has reopened again because Bowen's got more goal contributions this season than Saka, and now overall they are level with a similar amount of games played. So that is an interesting debate to have. The final 2:00 game of the weekend on Sunday was at Anfield. Liverpool 3, Brentford 0. I had Darwin Núñez in my fantasy team, so when I saw that Liverpool had scored 3 goals and he hadn't scored, I was a little bit upset. But it looks like a routine win for Liverpool, who looked the business, Josh.
Yeah, I think they could be the closest to City this year, as Arsenal a bit hit and miss. It seems like they've got that what they had back the other year. You know, they've got legs in midfield now. Like last year, just sort of felt like the midfield just didn't have the legs to play the way Klopp wanted to play anymore. Whereas this year, obviously, they've got a whole new midfield again now, and it just seemed like still not as good as the previous midfield. They had the tight winning midfield, but you know it's a lot better than their aging midfield that they had last season. The High Line, obviously, they've got quick defenders, so they can sort of play it, especially at home. It still gets breached a couple of times, but that's always going to happen when you hold that High Line. And I think they're definitely sort of back this year. I still don't think they'll really challenge City and get too close to them, but I think they could be the closest to them. I took Darwin Núñez out because I done my wild card and I only put him in for the 1 week when he had Luton and he didn't give me anything. So
Mr. Sitter.
Yeah, I've took him out. As for Brentford, again, just one of them. I think they're going to be aiming somewhere between that sort of 14th and about 9th, really. They're never going to get any higher and probably ever lower than that. I think they could be one of them teams that just become a Crystal Palace, who end up between that range. Kostas Tsimikas for an assist as well. I think he's going to be a bargain in the fantasy. I think he's only like 4.5 million or something like that. And while Robertson's injured, I can give you a good tip to get him in because he gets quite a few assists in the system they play. And again, I didn't watch the game because I watched the Villa ones. That's all I can add to that one, really. I've seen the goals. I heard Jota scored quite a decent one, and Mo Salah played very well as well. But that's all I can add for that one.
There we go. Let's move on to the main event then. And it certainly didn't disappoint. Prime Barclays, wasn't it? Heritage Super Sunday. Peter Drury on commentary. It was brilliant. It was majestic. It was superb. It was scintillating. It was Chelsea 4, Manchester City 4. See, my inner Peter Drury came out there with a couple of those adjectives. He will be proud. That is for sure. Cole Palmer turned from Man City's boy into Chelsea's man. And I still can't believe Man City conceded 4 goals, to be honest with you, on a mental game of football. I'm sure you watched it, Josh. I certainly did.
Yeah, I absolutely did. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. The penalty was very soft. I know he ended up dragging him down, but Haaland was dragging him first. So I think
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, wasn't it? It was a bit of...
Yeah, I thought it was harsh, to be honest. Then as soon as he gets the penalty, there was all Haaland's going to slot it away. And then it was just absolutely crazy from that point. Raheem Sterling, he's playing just unbelievable at the moment. It's strange how Southgate always seems to pick him when I don't think he was this good. And he seems to be one of his favourites, and now he's actually playing really well. He's not picking him. I think something's definitely gone on there because he used to be one of his favourites. He always used to pick him. So I think this season something's definitely gone on, especially when he's playing that well. He's just playing so well at the minute. There's not many who have Kyle Walker spinning, and he certainly did this game. And Thiago Silva with the equaliser as well, 39, still going, very good player, and just reads the game so well. And I thought Chelsea were actually the better team throughout the game, to be honest. Man City looked a bit ropey all the time. They looked like scoring Chelsea, and they scored 8-2 now, which I bet they can't believe because they've hardly been able to score at all last 12 months. Reece James as well.
Involved in two bizarre and very different games of football. Probably two of the best football matches I've watched in a hell of a long time. Actually, it came in the space of a week, and they couldn't be any different because I thought Chelsea were appalling against Spurs, and it was only because the two men that were sent off was the reason they won that game. They were so much better in this game, and then we got a point out of it. Football's a funny game, and these games were just special.
Yeah, I think Poch must have said something to them because I thought they were really bad against Spurs as well. Until the 80th minute when he scored the second one. I don't know what they were doing. They just couldn't break the 9.
They were clueless.
Yeah, they didn't they didn't look like they didn't know what to do. So I think he's definitely said something to them. They look so much better. They look like scoring. I thought Jackson was really poor against Spurs as well. I know that sounds mad when he got a hat-trick, but he could have had a triple hat-trick if he'd took all his chances. So I thought he was really poor. And then, obviously, as we get later into this game, I had a feeling Man City were going to nick it and really jammy goal from, was it Rodri, was it? But thankfully, Chelsea get a late winner, which I actually wanted them to do because I sort of want a bit of an interesting title race. I don't want City to run away with it, even though I still think they will. No, it's just a mental game. Cole Palmer as well, City let go. I still think they're probably laughing for 40 million or 50 million, whatever they got, and replaced him with Doku for like 20 million. But no, they played really well. Cole Palmer as well. I've been quite impressed with him this season. He already played last season for City because he got so much quality, but he has looked quite a decent player this season. Cucurella seems to be getting better as well, and I can see a light at the end of the tunnel now for Chelsea if they keep playing like that. It's like 1 week you look at them like against Spurs and Brentford, and you think it's just what they were like last year. But I think when they're like this and they've got a young squad, like I saw some debate who's in a better situation, Chelsea or Man United. Well, it would have to be Chelsea because like they've got a lot younger squad. They've still got quality in the squad. They've not got like, all right, I think that owner is a bit dodgy, but it's nowhere near like the situation United in with the Glazers. The ground's not falling down as bad as Man United's. So, yeah, so they're definitely in a better situation. And as for City, I still thought they were quite decent, but no, I think Chelsea definitely give them a game. And as I say, there's not many that have Kyle Walker rattled like that. So fair play to Sterling. And
yeah, a bit of a wobble for Man City, I think, and Chelsea. I think the main thing I'll say is it shows how much how long a week is in football because they were crap against Spurs, and I really couldn't see them turning it around, even though they battered them in the end on paper. But I thought they were really good. I thought they were fast paced. I thought they had a bit of impetus about them, and all of a sudden now you can see without Europe, Peter's put in the chat, Chelsea could start climbing the table without Europe. I wouldn't have been convinced after I watched them against Spurs, to be honest with you, but there seemed to be just a little bit more intensity and a bit more drive there from Chelsea, and they were completely value for a point, I thought, and it has just about kept them below West Ham in the Premier League table, which is lovely. So overall, it was a win-win, I think. I was loving it. Yeah, glad Chelsea didn't win as they stayed below us on the table. What a game this was. My only complaint was Jamie Carragher with his biased commentary against Manchester City. Tell you what, an unpopular opinion, I miss Gary Neville. A lot of people hate him on commentary, but I love Gary Neville on commentary. I know his oohs and uhs. Oh, it just adds to it. I love it.
I don't mind either Neville and Carragher, to be fair. I think they're two of the best pundits. I think the pundits are miles better than the TNT ones as well. They all get on my nerves. And that penalty late on for Chelsea, that was definitely a blatant penalty as well on Brozier. Bit of a silly challenge, to be honest. I could see he was trying to block the shot, but
Ruben Diaz, it was really rash.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure. Right. Let's finish things off. Ronnie, our resident Spurs fan, big up everyone. Good win for the Hammers. It certainly was. Not a good week for Spurs, but yeah. Thank you very much indeed, everybody, for watching. It has been the Premier League Roundup Show. We now go on a sabbatical for a week, and we will see you back after the weekend of the 25th of November. Another international break, the final one until March. Woohoo! Where something to look forward to in March. England are playing Brazil and Belgium, so you get to see England's backside waxed twice in a week. So we've got that to look forward to as well. But that is it for the Premier League for a week. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, for getting involved in tonight's show. We were a man down. So Josh, you took on the extra work. Thank you very much indeed.
No worries.
I will see you on international break. There'll be some videos coming, talking West Ham stuff in the coming days, just to fill the hull of the international break. But until then, thank you very much. From me, coming on, is up the video from Josh, and we will see you after the international break. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, Josh.